Oh my God, he is such a jerk. I cannot believe that he did that to you. Oh, I just want to hurt him so much for the things he does all the time. He pisses me off. And I know you're pissed too. You know what we should do? Let's go out and just start wailing on that punching bag out there, and let's put a little picture of his face on it, and I bet it'll help us feel better. We just need to go let off some steam. You ever heard somebody say something like that? Or have you been in a situation where you said something like that? My name is David Enevoltson, and I'm the creator of Emotional Embuffination. We tend to think of ourselves as these steam valves, and anger fills up in us. We need to let the steam out, and if we're venting it, we're gonna feel better, and if we don't, we're either gonna implode or explode or do something really terrible. The problem is the research doesn't support this theory. In fact, the research shows that if you're doing this stuff, you're actually making things way worse. There are a number of different articles that talk about, and a fair amount of research that talks about this idea of letting off steam being more problematic than not letting off steam. But I think that this one, it's entitled, Does Venting Anger Feed or Extinguish the Flame? Catharsis, Rumination, Distraction, Anger, and Aggressive Responding. Got a little copy of it here. It's by a fellow named Brad Bushman out of Iowa State University. And I think that this really effectively illustrates in a very clever experiment how this all works. Now, in this study, what he does is he takes a bunch of subjects to be experimented on. And in this, he tells them that they're going to write an essay. And the essay is going to be about their position on abortion. In the whole setup, after you've written the essay, each subject is supposedly going to be exchanging the essay with another person. Now, this other person doesn't exist. The subjects don't actually know that. They think there's another student in another room who's looking at their essay. While the essay that the subject has written is passed off to the other student, then the other student's essay comes over to the subject and they get to read it. Now, again, unbeknownst to the subjects, these essays were pre-written. Each of the essays is carefully selected to make sure that the other student has the exact opposite position on abortion. So first off, you write off an essay saying, here's how I feel about abortion, either pro-life or pro-choice or whatever your position is. You send it to the other student. Other student sends back their essay and you read it and it says exactly the opposite of what you think of in your essay. So already from the get-go, you're starting to get a little pissed off because this person has a totally different viewpoint. Then you grade it, you mark it up, and then you hand it back to the other student. Meanwhile, you get back your corrected paper, and on the paper, it has all sorts of horrible corrections, and including a statement that says, this is the worst essay I've ever read. And it just goes through and it's all sorts of marks up on things that don't make sense, about the content, about the grammar, just everything you can think of. So these people are already really pissed off. So after all this essay stuff, the subjects are then broken into three groups, essentially. One of them is essentially induced into punching a punching bag, but before they go in and punch the punching bag, they're shown a picture of this supposed other student. And in reality, it's just this picture that they've chosen at random of some other student. But they show the subjects this picture and they say, all right, this is the other person that tore up your essay and had this exact opposite position of you on abortion. I want you to imagine that when you hit that punching bag, that other student is the person you're punching. That's group number one. Group number two is not shown any image of the other student. Instead, they're shown a picture of somebody getting in shape. And when they go in, they're told, okay, imagine that you're just getting in shape. Try not to think about that other person. Just go and get physically fit. There's a third group, and in this third group, they are just told to sit quietly for a few minutes instead of doing anything. And they're not allowed to punch the punching bag. They're not shown any pictures. They just sit there. So it's kind of the control group. Once the subjects had an opportunity to do whichever of the venting systems or not in the control group that they were going to do, researchers then went in and measured how angry each of these different groups was. What they found was it went down in descending order. So the group that had gone out and started punching the bag, thinking about the other person that had torn up their essay, felt the angriest. The next one down was the grouping that had punched thinking about physical fitness. They were angrier than the group that had just sat there quietly for a couple minutes. It seems the exact opposite of what you would expect, because normally you think, okay, if I'm going to vent, I'm going to feel better, but that was not what the research was showing. There are a lot of other really fascinating studies that say very similar things. The basic idea here, though, is that when you have anger, it snowballs. The more that you exercise anger on things, the more you try to vent it, the more you try to lash out at somebody else when you're experiencing that anger, the more you're going to start feeling it. And it feeds on itself, which I see all the time at my work when I'm doing the family law stuff. You see people that start lashing out at each other, and it just starts to fireball out of control, where people just keep getting angrier and angrier and angrier and keep escalating what's going on. Means that the next time you're in a situation where you're super angry, or you find yourself where you want to be angry, don't vent. That's the exact opposite of what you should be doing. Find a way to just let it go. Figure out what you need to do to resolve the situation and then move forward with that. But don't go venting. Don't go hitting a punching bag. Don't hit a pillow. Don't punch the other person. Don't lash out at them. Just deal with it. And you're going to feel a heck of a lot better, even though it sounds very counterintuitive. This is what the science is showing us. If you have not already done so, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also check out the resources that I have on www.embuffination.com.